From winning 6 out of 11 of his fights to having the best nickname in the entire MMA, you would think Alexander Hernandez is having the best time. But you'd be wrong. The fighter had a pretty weird reaction after making a huge weight cut. The Great Ape has recently told fans something that's super troubling but also hilarious. When he cut down to featherweight for his last fight, his stopped working. Yep, you heard that right. His hard work in the league has stopped other things from getting hard.
Yeah, it's certainly something to hold some pride in and be happy with, but I've never been one to really revel in or soak on past.
He fought Billy Carrantillo at 145 pounds at UFC 282, which was his first fight at that weight since 2013. He said that losing weight was part of the reason he lost the match in the second round.
I've got a great team of people. I got real altruistic guys on my team that are willing to do anything for the cause.
So much so that his little ape stopped working the morning before the fight, which might just be the worst news any young man could ever get. He trains with perfecting athletes because they have some of the best nutritionists in the world. The player hasn't been starving himself and has been following a pretty balanced diet. In an interview, he stated how hard this has been on his mental health.
Our whole team's fired up, man. We're ecstatic. It's a huge opportunity doing this little this open workout and this media scrum afterwards. It's an honor, and I'm just soaking it up, just enjoying every moment.
He's a pretty dedicated player. All he's been doing is keeping his head in the game. Doctors have told the fighter that he would make a recovery. His little partner will be able to play soon enough, but it makes sense that the fighter is having a hard time. This weekend, he'll be fighting at his natural weight class, lightweight, against a seasoned veteran named Jim Miller. Only 2 weeks' notice was given before the fight. Miller has been in 40 fights for the Ultimate Fighting Championship and has won 24 of them. But the Great Ape has lost his last 3 games and hasn't won in his last 2.
Army. Oh, it's tight, it's tight.
There's the tap. Wow. Jim Miller exacts his revenge. Submits Cowboy Cerrone.
After beating Beneil Dariush in a shocking upset in 2018, he became a well-known name in the MMA world. The fighter hasn't been able to do as well as he did in the past, but he hopes to win in the next match to get back on track. He's told his manager and coach that he doesn't want to go through another 14-week camp after his last fight. He's never been more sure that his losses aren't caused by something wrong with his body, but rather by some kind of mental block.
Going back to the stables on Saturday. You're all buddy in the back. It's calling how healthy and nice. I do look fucking healthy.
In addition to some appendages not functioning properly, the player has been going through mental health problems too. He has explained this in a very interesting way. He thinks he has the right hardware, but not the right software to be successful in the league. The once promising UFC fighter says that his failures, which have kept him from meeting the expectations of the MMA world early in his UFC career, are because of how he thinks about fighting. Even though he beat top title challenger Beneil Dariush in 42 seconds in his first UFC fight, he hasn't been doing as well since then. The Great Ape thinks that to reach his full potential in the ring, he needs to work on his mental game. He's super clear on the fact that his body is in top condition, but he needs to work on his mental health.
Yeah, it's certainly something to hold some pride in and be happy with, but I've never been one to really revel in or soak on past laurels or anything like that.
With his next fight looming over him, he's pretty excited, and he should be. But do you think that he can beat someone with that level of skill? The stats speak for themselves. On the other hand, what makes the difference is his attitude. Plus, he's pretty sure he self-sabotages. He's pretty hard on himself. He wants to be the best, and he trains like it too. He's putting in a lot of work to improve his awareness and get into a flowing state where he can focus and perform at his best. After losing by knockout to Billy Carrantillo, he wants to get back on track. He wants to go back to the good old days when he had his first fight at 145 pounds. His next fight with Miller would be at lightweight, but in the future, he wants to fight at featherweight. If he doesn't have any other health problems, he wants to get to 145 pounds. You can be sure that he's pretty dedicated and does everything that he can to prove that he's super great at what he does. Just look at the UFC Apex event. It was super awesome. Hernandez was able to step in at the last minute without any trouble. He said that it took him a long time to get ready for the last 2 camps, and that he did a lot of planning in the time before the games. Since things didn't go as planned in his last big fight, he was eager to get back on track. So at UFC Fight Night, Andrade vs. Blanchfield, he didn't think twice about taking on lightweight veteran Jim Miller. The poor guy just wants to crawl down into a dungeon and work this stuff out. He was going to get 3 fights, have a basement brawl, get his mojo back, and go back to the mainstream. These are his words. It couldn't have happened anywhere better than at the apex. The 30-year-old doesn't have any trouble staying at a healthy weight, so he won't have any trouble getting to 155 pounds. He's been working to get his mental health under check too. Even though he has a 5-5 record inside the UFC octagon, he blames mental fatigue for his recent struggles. He's pretty sure that he can win this fight because his head and body are in the right state. It wasn't a secret that he was fighting the UFC fighter with the most wins and fights, who had just beaten Cowboy Cerrone at UFC 276. As he's getting ready to fight Miller, he's made his opinion about his opponent very clear. Hernandez has nothing but the utmost respect for him. Sportsmanship is the best. The player acknowledges that his opponent is super solid, but he thinks he'll have a bit of an advantage because of his size, strength, and mind. Fans know that Miller isn't very big for a lightweight, but he's still a great opponent. If I'm being honest, and if we look at the stats, it's pretty obvious that Hernandez's reach is just a little bit better. No matter how the game goes physically, the only thing that matters to him is how tough he is mentally. He takes his losses pretty hard, but he doesn't give up, and that's super admirable. If you look at his routine, especially after his matches, it's pretty obvious that he goes into his fights with all he has and tries to find his tempo and speed, and does the best that he could. His fury after losing his last battle by knockout in the second round serves as fuel for his next fight, and fans are super excited to see how things will go. Like I said, he took it pretty hard. This is probably another reason why his little soldier isn't up for the battle. Stress is pretty bad for you. Anyways, he's super fired up, more so that he's been in a pretty long time. It's all up to him now to decide if he wants to win this next fight, or if he wants to get rid of the part of himself that might hurt his chances of doing so. Because of his determination, he can't wait to test himself out in the ring once again. While he hasn't been able to win consecutive fights recently, fans believe in him and he believes in himself too. And isn't that what matters at the end of the day? With doctors giving him the green light on his peculiar problems, and with his super positive attitude towards his next fight, you can be sure that he'll be doing great things. That's all I have on Alex Hernandez's struggles while making a huge weight cut.